Hey, family and friends, check it out. So, we got our greenhouse assembled and covered, and it's kind of a monstrosity here next to the house. But we can see the animals from the back window, and it comes up pretty much. It leaves a little gap here by the door. So, I'll probably put like a little easy up over here or something. And so, got a bunch of lavender clones, a bunch of different types of starts. This is a good way to regrow your onions. So you just cut about a half an inch off the bottom above the roots, and then plant it. You can also stick it in water and kind of liven up the roots a little bit. Let's see. I think I have a good example here. Right there. That was a yellow onion that we ate, and we were growing the root part of it into a whole new onion. Regenerative. Here's another one. It's starting to come to life too. You can see the roots are popping out from the bottom there, and those little cones are growing. That one too. That one's growing. Also, I bought a bag of carrots, and there were greens coming out of the top of the carrot. So I went back and stuck that in the ground, and I'm just gonna let it grow, and hopefully maybe we can get some seed off of the top. Carrot tops. These are all different types of apples that I tried to propagate, but when we reassembled and rebuilt this new greenhouse, the goats got after those and started pulling the starts out of the cups. So I have a bunch more scions in the fridge. I might try to get them going. These fruit stock ones are looking pretty good. And then down here, this is Pinot Noir grapevines from clipping and pruning back grapes. So I just went to a vineyard where the big pile of clippings were and loaded up the truck with a couple handfuls. And I'll show you right now how that works. So over here is a pretty good example. Here's some more of the Pinot Noir. I don't know if you can see those buds starting to pop right there. So that was a very high success rate. Every single one is gone. Out of the 6 out of that batch that I started earlier in the year. And pretty much what you do is you put a couple buds under the dirt and then leave a couple buds sticking out. And you do it when they're dormant, and then in the spring they start to grow. So these Pinot Noir ones have been sitting around kind of under the eave of the house where the drip line from the foggy mornings happens. So hopefully they didn't get too desiccated where they run out of internal moisture. They're pretty green when I cut them and stuck them in the dirt. So hopefully, yeah, all those will start growing, and then I'll plant the heck out of all the fence lines. Other things I'm growing in here, pomegranate. Kind of revitalizing the pomegranate starts. So a lot of little weeds get growing in between and around them. So that's where slugs and snails like to live. So I've been coming through, pulling back all this nonsense. Once in a while I get a pomegranate, because what I did was I pruned the pomegranates, and then with all the clippings I just stuck them in these pots and they started growing new pomegranate bushes. Same thing with the elderberry over here. So a little bit of snail bait in there, but yeah, I pruned the elderberries and then just stuck the stalks in the ground, and sometimes they make it and sometimes they don't. But if you put 5 or 6 stalks in the dirt, you're likely to get at least a couple growing out of each pot. And the ones that don't make it, you just move it over to another spot, and then eventually you'll have 9 of them that are ready to grow something in. And then kind of a rule of thumb I try to follow, there's some rosemary, same thing, clone those. Here's another grape that's starting to sprout new leaves. But a rule of thumb I like to follow is when I see plants putting on active growth, like right here, that's telling me that it's putting in roots. So once it does that, you know that it could be planted in the dirt. Dog, out of there. And that's what you should do if you're trying to plant out your yard. And then you can turn around and use that empty pot now to grow something else, or to transfer something smaller into a bigger pot, and then you just keep the machine working. Just like any business, or if you rent a backhoe and you need to do a bunch of work, well, you're running that backhoe as much as possible until you got to return it. That way you can get as much value out of your money as possible. Same thing with, a propagation center. This is just getting started now. You can see all the solo cups. So I come underneath the solo cup, melt a couple holes in the bottom, and that makes a very, very cheap planter cup. Because if you try to buy these little cups, same size cup at the store, little planter pots, you're gonna get broke. You're gonna spend so much money on it. And then we're also getting creative. So these are 2 vinegar gallons. The toilet was flushing a little bit slow, so we poured vinegar down the drain to try to free up the water flow going out the toilet. Milk jugs, twins. We go through lots of milk. These milk jugs take up space in the garbage can. Might as well be using them to start plants in. I'm gonna grow squash in these. I bought some tomatoes at Lowe's. I had to stop in there to pick up some hardware to finish that project, that chicken coop project. So while I was down there, I picked up a couple of these from the garden department and checked out there. So it was kind of in more of an open air environment. Got some nasturtiums growing. A lot of these are seeds I pick up along the way. There's a black walnut, and I put an English walnut graft on there, but I'm not sure if that's going to take or not. It's looking kind of shrivelly. I'll give it a little hope, and eventually, if it doesn't ever grow, I'll nip it right here, or I might leave a little bit in case I want to try to graft up here again next year. This plant I've had since I was like 12 years old. Same thing, I snapped it off of a plant that was grown somewhere else and rooted it, and it's been a bonsai that's survived me, which is freaking crazy, because it's gotten frostbitten and died back. You can see some of the old stalks down here. They're just like there, but now in this greenhouse it's loving it. It gets watered every day. It's a tropical plant. I used to live on the screen porch when we lived in a mobile home when I was growing up, right by the front door in the screen porch. And it would die there sometimes too, as we'd forget to water it. And this avocado, just one day it's already starting to grow those buds up. I think whatever was attacking it, its whole life got disrupted. And then, so finally, I put this cattle feeder in here. The water's already starting to warm up, so this is to keep the humidity up. I have these 2 hoses running off a timer, and the timer only allows it to go off every 6 hours for 2 minutes. So I have it on the minimum time setting, but the maximum time interval. And then I'm going to replace this in a few weeks with a misting system, and then hopefully upgrade the timer so I could do it like every, hour, every 20 minutes for 10 seconds, so that the misting is on a much higher interval but shorter time span, and that'll keep starts like this here from desiccating, because right now the plant is drawing more water than the bottom of the stem can produce, because it's still forming new roots. So you have to keep water on the leaves so that it doesn't respire and die of dehydration, pretty much. Or it'd be like getting an air bubble in your veins. It just wipes the plant out. So yeah, this is a new greenhouse. Here's the potting spot. So this is all going to be different seeds. Got some seeds I saved here from a sunflower. Got some garden beans, squash, some nice heirloom tomatoes. And then the main portion of the seed bank is actually at home. Well, in the house, under safekeeping. It's a lot more secure. I'm not just going to leave my whole seed bank out here. Anyway. Oh yeah, lemon verbena. So I took a cutting, rooted this thing. It never fully went dormant. So hopefully with a lot of extra water and it being warmer in here, we should see a lot of new growth pretty soon. And then like this, already starting. Once this stuff gets grown, it grows good and it smells absolutely wonderful, like this interesting lemon flavor. Lemon verbena. So I'm going to use that as a mother plant. So I'm going to clone, propagate lemon verbena, probably into these little cups. And then once it gets big enough, I'll probably bag it and try to sell it somewhere. Same with a lot of this other stuff. Grapes, I'll probably plant in the yard as much as possible. But once I have so much, like so many mother plants, it's just a machine. Now I just got to go out there and make cuttings and then root them, and I'll have so much bounty here that I can supply friends and family or sell it to people, at a reasonable cost. And so just kind of starting from humble beginnings in a bigger greenhouse. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you soon.